Taken together, these instruments represent a dangerous and coordinated assault on Kenya's constitutional framework of public finance management, the long-term integrity of strategic national assets, and already battered public trust in state stewardship. They are being advanced at a moment when Kenya's fiscal credibility is under acute stress, and when the Kenya Pipeline Company IPO has demonstrated what happens when government asset transactions are conducted without transparency and without competitive process or genuine public buy-in. The National Assembly and the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning must reject both instruments in their current form. Number one, the National Infrastructure Fund Bill 2026, a solution in search of a problem. Kenya's infrastructure deficit is not a product of institutional scarcity. It is a product of execution failure, procurement corruption, and fiscal opacity. Adding a new fund to broken systems adds another layer of dysfunction with reduced oversight. As of 2024, Kenya already had over 60 public funds operating outside the consolidated fund, many with overlapping mandates, weak oversight, and poor reporting. A proliferation the controller budget has flagged as a major governance risk. Article 206 of the Constitution is unambiguous. All public revenue must flow through the consolidated fund and be subject to parliamentary appropriation. We underline that. The proposed fund risks creating a semi-autonomous financial reservoir where cabinet-level officials can deploy significant public resources without annual parliamentary approval. The very arrangement Article 206 was designed to prevent. On CS Bandi's admission and misleading Parliament, these concerns are directly confirmed by the conduct of Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Bandi in a sworn affidavit filed at the Milimani High Court on or about March 3rd, 2026. CS Bandi confessed to having misled Parliament regarding the legal status of the 5 trillion shillings National Infrastructure Fund, while consistently presenting the fund to parliamentary committees as a public fund subject to parliamentary oversight. His court affidavit refuted a wholly contradictory reality. The entity is not a fund within the meaning of Article 206 at all, but a limited liability company, one that had not even been incorporated when these assurances were being given to MPs. A cabinet secretary who assures Parliament of a 5 trillion shilling vehicle constitutional status, then swears under oath to his private and incorporated nature, has not made a technical error. He has misled the legislature on a matter of the highest fiscal and constitutional consequence. Under Article 153, Subarticle 4 of the Constitution, the National Assembly must summon CS Bandi to reconcile his parliamentary presentations with his court testimony. Parliament cannot pass legislation premised on information the responsible cabinet secretary has admitted under oath was misleading. Instead, Kenya should deepen its infrastructure bond market, reform the PPP framework, that is public-private partnership framework, enforce fiscal discipline by rationalizing the recurrent budget, which has grown 63% from 3.1 trillion to 4.9 trillion against low single-digit GDP growth, and strengthen procurement oversight at project inception, where the greatest losses occur, as demonstrated by the Social Health Authority, SHA, Standard Gauge Railways GR, and Dane JKI and Ketraco deals, the competency-based curriculum education, and the Rirone Mau Summit scandals. Number 2, sessional paper number 3 of 2025, selling Kenya's crown jewels for fiscal pain relief. Safaricom is not simply a telecommunications company. It is a national infrastructure utility, the backbone of Kenya's digital payments architecture through M-Pesa, host of critical government service delivery channels, and one of the most consistently profitable public assets on the continent. In financial year 2024, Safaricom declared a total dividend payout of 48.08 billion shillings, a significant share flowing to the government. To divest this stake, even partially, to plug short-term fiscal gaps in the economic equivalent of a family selling its most productive farm to cover annual household shopping, the income-generating asset is permanently lost. Yet the budget shortfall will reappear within the next cycle. Safaricom's network underpins National Integrated Identity Management System NIMS, Huduma Number, Lipa na M-Pesa, government payments, e-citizen, and national security and justice communication systems. Reducing state ownership without clear restrictions on who may acquire divested shares creates genuine national security risks, not yet assessed or disclosed to Parliament. The sessional paper fails to answer elementary questions. Who will be permitted to buy? Will foreign state actors be barred? What golden share mechanisms will the government retain? What becomes of universal service obligations as commercial shareholders gain greater influence? These omissions are disqualifying failures of due diligence. Number 3, the Kenya Pipeline Company IPO, a cautionary tale the government refuses to heed. The KPCI IPO stands as one of the most instructive object lessons in how not to conduct a government asset divestiture. The process was marked by pricing, questioned as overvalued, advisor selection without public, accountable, competitive process, modest retail investor participation, and weak secondary market liquidity. If the government cannot execute a pipeline company IPO with credibility and genuine market confidence, there is no basis for public trust that it can responsibly execute a partial divestiture of Safaricom, Africa's second most capitalized stock by some measures, or manage a new multi-billion shilling national infrastructure fund. Credibility in asset transactions must be built, demonstrated, and verified. And this administration has done none of those things. Demands. These are Kenya's demands. On the National Infrastructure Fund Bill, reject the bill in its entirety as constitutionally defective, governance deficient, and institutionally redundant. Commission an independent constitutional review of the bill's compatibility with Article 206 before further consideration. Require the Treasury to account for all existing extra-budgetary public funds before any new fund is created. And prioritize strengthening existing infrastructure financing instruments of institutional multiplication. On the Safaricom partial divestiture, reject sessional paper number 3 of 2025, demand its full withdrawal pending a comprehensive independent strategic asset review, require full publication of all transaction advisor engagement terms and selection processes, commission an independent actuarial and strategic valuation of the Safaricom stake, demand a national security assessment of reduced state shareholding, and hold full public participation hearings in line with Article 118 of the Constitution before any divestiture instrument proceeds. On the KPC IPO and asset monetization policy, direct the Public Investments Committee to conduct a full postmortem of the KPC IPO, including pricing methodology, advisor selection, underwriting conduct, and retail participation outcomes. Suspend all further government asset divestiture or monetization exercises pending a parliamentary approved national asset management policy, and require the Privatization Commission to rebuild its institutional framework before being entrusted with further transactions of national significance. Our conclusion: Kenya is not suffering from a shortage of institutions or financial instruments. Kenya is suffering from a crisis of governance. Call it blatant corruption, a persistent structural failure of the state to spend resources transparently, enforce accountability, and protect the interests of ordinary citizens over powerful insiders. The National Infrastructure Fund bill will not cure this crisis, nor will the Safaricom divestiture. These are not solutions to Kenya's development deficit. They are distractions from it. And in the wrong hands, they become instruments for deepening the same elite capture that has stunted Kenya's growth for generations. The United Alternative Government stands on the side of constitutional integrity, fiscal discipline, and the long-term strategic interests of the Kenyan people. We call on this Parliament to do the same. Issued today, the 5th of March, 2026. And I thank you.